them from being a part of the WNBA's agenda. And we are seeing that loud and clear. By the way, Hailey Van Lith was wrecking everyone in preseason. Killing it. People were like, holy shit, she could end up having a real good year for the Chicago Sky. No, it won't be for the Sky. No.
The Chicago Sky have drawn considerable attention this offseason, particularly following the departure of Angel Reese to Atlanta. With a reshuffled roster, expectations around the team's performance relative to last season have shifted, and early preseason activity had generated genuine optimism about the direction of the rebuild. One of the more surprising roster decisions coming out of Chicago involves Hailey Van Lith, who was selected by the Sky with the 11th pick in the draft.
Won't be for the Sky. No. White and straight? Are you nuts? Are you crazy as hell? Are you crazy as hell? No, cannot do it. Cannot have it. Not in this league. Van Lith drafted by Chicago with the 11th pick. By the way, why not just let her go in the expansion draft? I mean, what are you doing? Why even bother to protect her? She has been waived. Somebody will pick her up at light speed.
Van Lith had been one of the more impressive performers during the preseason, putting together a standout showing that included an 8-for-8 shooting performance alongside a 2-0-point outing. By most evaluations, she was playing herself into a meaningful role. Despite that production, the Sky announced they have waived her, citing a stylistic fit with the team's preferred system as the basis for the decision.
She has been waived. Somebody will pick her up at light speed. She has been crushing she had an 8-for-8 game the other day. 20 points. Chicago's decision to waive Hailey Van Lith was based on the Sky's, quote, style of play preference. Was it based on that? Or is the word preference really the operative word? Did Kathy put the call in?
The expectation is that she will be claimed by another franchise quickly given the level she was performing at during camp. Around the same time as the Van Lith release, the Sky announced the signing of veteran guard Natasha Cloud to a one-year contract worth $555,000, according to reporting from The Athletic. Cloud, who has been one of the more prominent voices on social issues among active WNBA players, had been unsigned heading into the season.
The operative word. Did Kathy put the call in? We have somebody that hasn't been signed. We can't look like we don't support activism anymore. I mean, what else does this league have? Don't worry. Just when you were concerned about it, Natasha Cloud has signed with the Chicago Sky. Yeah, but you released Hailey Van Lith. Right.
The back-to-back nature of the two transactions, releasing a young, affordable guard averaging 12 points per game in the preseason, in favor of a veteran coming off a season where she averaged 8 points per game at a significantly higher salary, has raised questions among analysts and fans about the basketball logic driving the move. Elsewhere around the league, Lauren Betts has been drawing strong reviews during Dallas Wings camp, with many observers suggesting she has the tools to develop into one of the top front-court players in the league within her first full season. The Wings' draft decisions more broadly have attracted scrutiny from those who feel the franchise has not always prioritized pure basketball evaluation in its selection process.
Van Lith, right. By the way, the Sky actually did say thank you. See ya. Get out. Wow. Annie Constable, now of The Athletic, by the way. The Sky are signing Natasha Cloud to a one-year deal at $555,000, sources tell The Athletic.
The Sky opened their regular season schedule with a roster that looks notably different from the group that closed out last year, and how the new pieces fit together, particularly at the guard position following the Van Lith departure, will be one of the more closely watched storylines as the season gets underway. the Chicago Sky have waived Hailey Van Lith in a move that caught many observers off guard. The decision carries added weight given the sequence of roster moves the organization made specifically to acquire and protect her over the past year.
You can't make this shit up. You cut a young 12-point a game point guard who was affordable for an aging, expensive vet who averaged 8 points per game. Diabolical. But in this league, you don't make decisions based on basketball. You don't draft players based on basketball. Looking at you, Dallas Wing.
Van Lith was a first-round selection in last year's draft. Beyond the pick used to select her, the Sky also surrendered additional draft capital to prevent her from being claimed in the expansion draft, meaning the organization spent assets on 2 separate occasions to secure her spot on the roster. Waiving her now, after all of that, is the part that makes the situation genuinely difficult to understand from a front office logic standpoint.
Looking at you, Dallas Wings. God. Lauren Betts looks like it's gonna take her about a half a season to be the best big in the league. Dallas Wings drafting girlfriends and shit. Agenda. Chicago Sky adding a cloud to our city. Welcome to the Chicago Chai Tash. Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
As a player, Van Lith occupies a complicated evaluation space. She is not a standout at the WNBA level, but she is far from unplayable. A reasonable read is that she falls into a category of players who are clearly beyond the college level and capable of thriving overseas, but who sit right at the edge of what the league's minimum competency threshold demands.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. The Brittany Griner trifecta. Black, woman, lesbian. The Brittany Griner woke trifecta. Natasha Cloud, Chicago Sky. Let's get rid of the straight white girl. Yeah, that's cut HVL for this shit. Fire Jeff and Marsh right now.
She posted 20 points in a preseason game, and an 8-for-8 shooting performance against the Mercury's second unit showed flashes of what she can do. The counter-argument is that Taylor, who the Sky are retaining, had a similarly eye-catching performance against Atlanta's bench, and the 2 outputs likely carried similar weight in the final evaluation. The minutes picture in Chicago was always going to be constrained.
The Orsianos trade waived, and is going to sign for another team. She has other teams looking after her. And this is a bit of a shocker. This is a big shocker because the Chicago Sky gave up expansion picks. They traded second-round picks so that they could keep HVL. They traded assets because, let's be real, only HVL or Maddie Westbeld were going to be taken. Were they that scared that both teams were going to take Maddie Westbeld? Because I think HVL was a more prized asset of them. Look, I think
Skylar Diggins is on the roster. Tyler Marsh has consistently shown trust in Rachel Banham at the point guard position. Diamond DeShields is expected back in the rotation shortly, and J.C. Sheldon provides additional flexibility at the 1.
Look, I think, I'm going to be real here. Is HVL that much worse than a backup point guard on a expansion team? Not really. Not really. I don't think she's great. I don't think she's great at all. But I don't think she's bad either. Like, we're looking at a player who is, like, at 20 points in a preseason game. Very well might not be a WNBA player. Might be one of those players that's, like, way too good for college, way too good for what killer overseas, but not quite.
Purely as a basketball decision, without any surrounding context, the waiver makes reasonable sense given the depth chart. What makes it strange is everything surrounding it. The Sky did not simply pass on Van Lith in the draft. They traded to take her, then traded again to keep her.
It's way too good for what killer overseas, but not quite good enough for WNBA. Maybe that's the level she's at, but still. You're looking at someone who everyone wants small old school point guard's going to go out. The league, she's not even an old school point guard. They obviously are keeping Taylor, who had one really big game. That being said, she had a huge game against the Atlanta Dream bench, But HVL had a huge game against the bench of the Mercury, and nobody cares. She went 8 for 8 against the bench of the Mercury. Look, at the end of the day, people are like, oh, is it afraid of...
Two separate moves, two separate expenditures of future value, all undone by a single waiver. The natural conclusion is that the front office either misjudged her fit from the start or changed its evaluation significantly between draft night and the end of preseason. Neither scenario reflects well on the decision-making process.
Mercury. Look, at the end of the day, people are like, oh, is it a fair development slot? No. She is not being taken for a development slot. Why? Because it has been said that she has other teams ready to sign her. And that is to be expected. I don't think anyone should be shocked that HVL isn't signing on a developmental contract. She is somebody that we all kind of know what type of player that she is. We know there will be teams interested in her. She'll sell jerseys. She is a big name, big social media following, and a good player.
There is also the draft comparison that now looks considerably worse in hindsight. Tina Powell, widely expected to be Chicago's selection at that spot before the Van Lith pick was made, is currently pushing for a starting role in Atlanta.
Social media following, and a good player. A very good player. And look, I'm out here looking, and it's there, it's saying, this is for the best, she should go be a model. Nah. It's for the best, she can get out of Chicago. She can get out of Chicago. Like, Chicago is, it's a weird organization. I still think Chicago are okay. I still think the Sky are okay. But, like,
that gap between where Powell is now and where Van Lith has ended up sharpens the original criticism of the pick and compounds the overall narrative around the Sky's roster construction over this cycle. Van Lith will not be without options.
It is this weird thing with this organization where it's like, they keep just undoing moves. Everyone thought that Jeff Pagliocca gave up those expansion picks because he didn't want to admit that he kind of messed up, maybe. Maybe HVL was a bad pick. But no. He traded an asset to draft HVL. He traded an asset to draft Hailey Van Lith.
Reports indicate that multiple teams have already expressed interest in signing her, and a developmental contract is not the expected outcome. She carries enough name recognition, commercial appeal, and demonstrated ability to attract legitimate roster offers. Connecticut has been mentioned as a logical destination given their relatively thin backup guard options behind Natasha Hedeman.
He traded an asset to draft Hailey Van Lith. He then traded an asset to make sure Hailey Van Lith didn't get taken in the expansion draft. He then waived Hailey Van Lith. I am flabbergasted. To be fair, if it wasn't for the fact that top 5 picks were guaranteed, I don't know if Gabriella Jaquez was guaranteed to make this roster. Like, Lattimore was so much better. So much better. Top 5 picks.
Phoenix is another possibility, where the need for perimeter depth is real. Portland presents an interesting scenario where she could receive extended minutes on a rebuilding team.
Top 5 picks. Lottery picks, apparently, have guaranteed contracts for year 1. So I was like, oh, will Jaquez make the final roster? And I'm like, oh no, I actually can't get rid of her. I actually think that Jaquez, if, let's just say it was a hypothetical, and Jaquez was taken where she was projected to be taken before her senior season, early second round, where Lattimore was. Jaquez gets cut and no one thinks twice.
Washington, looking for backcourt support behind Ariel Atkins, is another name that has surfaced. Whatever the landing spot, the broader takeaway from Chicago's perspective is a pattern of decisions that compound poorly on one another. A draft pick made, protected at cost, and then discarded before the player in question had a full season to develop.